Lieutenant Mason Clarke had 17 seconds of warning before his F-16 exploded over hostile territory. The encrypted drive in his vest held coordinates to stop attacks on 3 American cities. Now bleeding with a dislocated shoulder, he watched enemy patrols converge from every direction. 60 miles of mountains and enemy compounds stood between him and safety, with every hostile force hunting what he carried. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. 6 hours earlier, Mason had sat in the briefing room at Al Dhafra Air Base, watching his intelligence officer tap a classified tablet with increasing urgency. The man's face was gray. Mason had seen that look before. It meant people were about to die unless something stopped it. 3 targets, the officer said, sliding photos across the table. Dallas Convention Center during the Technology Expo, Miami International Airport, main terminal, Seattle Ferry Terminal at rush hour, simultaneous attacks, 72 hours from now. Mason studied the images. Thousands of people in each location. Families, kids, normal people who had no idea someone was planning to kill them. We intercepted communications 3 days ago. Took us this long to decrypt. The officer pulled out a small drive, no bigger than Mason's thumb. Everything's on here. Attack coordinates, cell locations, timing sequences. It's EMP hardened, physically shielded. Can't transmit it. Interference would corrupt the data. Has to be hand-delivered to forward command. How fast? Your F-16 is the fastest option. 48 hours to decrypt on their end. Coordinate response. Deploy assets. Clock's ticking. Mason had done dangerous runs before. 200 combat hours across 8 years. But this felt different. The intelligence officer wasn't meeting his eyes. What's the catch? Your route crosses contested airspace. Their air defense has been active lately. Diplomatic channels say it's clear, but you don't trust diplomatic channels. The officer finally looked at him. Just get it there, Clarke. Those cities are counting on you. Mason had suited up methodically, checking every piece of gear 3 times. Survival vest, emergency beacon, water purification tablets, 3 days of rations, knife, compass, first aid kit. He'd taught survival training before becoming a pilot, knew what mattered when everything went wrong. The drive went into his vest pocket, secured with 2 backup straps. It never left his body. Those were the orders. Walking to his F-16 in the pre-dawn darkness, he'd felt the weight of it. Not the physical weight. The drive was practically nothing. But the weight of knowing that if he failed, thousands died. His sister lived in Dallas. His niece and nephew would be at that expo with their school. The jet engines roared to life. Control tower cleared him for takeoff. His wingman, Davis, gave him a thumbs up from the adjacent aircraft. "Stay tight, Viper 7, Davis said over the radio. "I've got your 6. Mason had pushed the throttle forward, felt the acceleration press him into his seat, watched the runway lights blur into streaks. The F-16 lifted off smooth and clean. Wheels up, climbing fast. 30,000 feet in minutes. He'd crossed into contested airspace 90 minutes later. The sun was just breaking over the mountains below, painting everything golden red. Beautiful country, deadly country. His threat warning system stayed quiet. No radar locks, no surface-to-air activity. Maybe the diplomatic channels were right for once. Then the alarm screamed. Missile lock, surface-to-air, incoming. Mason's hands moved before his brain finished processing. He threw the F-16 into a hard bank, dumped chaff and flares, pushed the throttle to maximum. The G-forces crushed him into his seat. His HUD screamed warnings in red. "Viper 7 evasive," Davis shouted over the radio. Mason watched the missile track across his display. Fast, too fast. He pulled harder, felt the jet shudder under the strain. The missile adjusted course, staying locked. Professional system, military grade. This wasn't some outdated Soviet equipment. He fired countermeasures again. The missile went for the flares, detonated 200 yards behind him. Shrapnel pinged off his tail section, but nothing critical. He leveled out, breathing hard. "Viper 7, you're clear," Davis called. "I've got nothing else on." The second alarm cut him off. Another missile. Different vector. They'd waited for him to evade the first. predicted his movement, fired from a second position, coordinated, planned. This wasn't random air defense. Someone knew he was coming. Mason jerked the stick left, but the missile was already too close. He had maybe 3 seconds. Not enough time to evade. Not enough time for anything except... The impact hit like a sledgehammer. His engine exploded. The jet bucked violently. Warning lights flooded the cockpit. Fire. Hydraulic failure. Total system collapse. Eject, eject, eject. Davis screaming over the radio. Mason yanked the ejection handle. The canopy blew away. The rocket under his seat fired, launching him up and away from the dying jet. The wind hit him like a wall, spinning him, tearing at his flight suit. His parachute deployed with a violent jerk that felt like his shoulders were being ripped off. Then silence except for the wind. He hung in the harness, watching his F-16 spiral down trailing black smoke. It hit the ground 2 miles east, erupted into a fireball, orange and black against the morning sky. Mason looked down. Forest, mountains, and directly below, maybe 3 miles away, he could see compounds, buildings, vehicles, enemy territory. His shoulder throbbed. Something wrong there. Dislocated, maybe. Shrapnel had caught his leg during the explosion, blood soaking through his flight suit. But he was alive. Still had the drive. Still had his survival gear. The ground rushed up faster than he wanted. He tried to steer toward the trees, away from the compounds, but the wind fought him. He crashed through the canopy, branches whipping his face and body, then slammed into the ground hard enough to knock the air from his lungs. Everything went black. When he opened his eyes, he didn't know if seconds or minutes had passed. His ears rang. His shoulders screamed. The parachute was tangled above him in the branches, white fabric visible for miles. Then he heard the vehicles. Engines, coming from the direction of the compounds. They'd seen him come down. They were already moving. Mason forced himself to move. His left arm hung useless, shoulder definitely dislocated. Every breath sent knives through his ribs. Broken. Maybe 2 or 3. The leg wound bled steady but not arterial. He could live with that. He cut himself free from the parachute harness with his knife. Left hand only. His right arm wouldn't respond. The white fabric hung above him like a flag marking his position. Nothing he could do about it now. Check your gear. Assess. Adapt. Execute. His survival vest was intact. Emergency beacon clipped to the shoulder strap. He reached for it, then stopped. They'd be monitoring frequencies. The second he activated it, every hostile in the region would triangulate his position. The beacon was useless unless he wanted to advertise exactly where he was. Water bottles. Check. 3 of them, full. Rations. Check. Energy bars, 6 of them. First aid kit. Check. Compass. Check. Knife. Already in his hand. The drive. He patted his vest pocket. Still there. Still secured. That was all that mattered. The vehicle engines were closer now. Maybe 2 miles away, heading toward his jet crash site. They'd search there first, then expand outward. He had 30 minutes. Maybe 40 if he was lucky. Mason stood. His leg buckled. He caught himself against a tree, bit down on a scream. The leg would hold. It had to. He pulled out his compass, oriented himself. The crash site was east. The compounds were south. That meant north and west were his best options. He remembered the mission briefing. The nearest friendly forward base was north-northeast, roughly 60 miles through mountains and forest. 60 miles with a dislocated shoulder, broken ribs, and a bleeding leg. 60 miles with every hostile force in the region hunting him. He heard voices now. Foreign language. Close enough to make out individual words, even if he couldn't understand them. They were spreading out from the crash site, starting their search pattern. Mason made his decision. The drive couldn't fall into enemy hands. The attacks would proceed. Dallas, Miami, Seattle, thousands dead. He couldn't run 60 miles carrying it. One wrong step, one capture, and it was over. He found a distinctive spot. 3 pine trees growing in a triangle. Rock face behind them. He counted 30 paces north, dug with his knife in one good hand, buried the drive 18 inches down, covered it, scattered pine needles and dirt over the disturbed ground, memorized every landmark. 3 pines, rock face, 30 paces north. Got it. Now he was just another downed pilot. If they caught him, they'd get nothing. He'd come back with a recovery team, get the drive, complete the mission. He heard a shout. They'd found his parachute. Mason turned north and started walking. Each step sent pain shooting through his leg. His shoulder throbbed with every heartbeat, sweat already soaking his flight suit despite the cool temperature. 60 miles to go. Behind him, the voices multiplied. Dogs barking. An organized search spreading out like a net. Mason pushed deeper into the forest and disappeared into the shadows. 1 mile in, Mason heard the helicopter. The rhythmic thump of rotors echoed off the valley walls. He dropped flat behind a fallen log, pressed himself into the dirt and dead leaves. The sound grew louder directly overhead. Through the gaps in the canopy, he caught a glimpse. Military transport with a thermal imaging pod mounted on the nose. They were hunting him with infrared. His body heat would light up their screens like a beacon. The stream. He'd passed a stream 200 yards back. Water masked thermal signatures. Mason waited until the helicopter moved east, then turned and half ran, half limped back the way he'd come. His legs screamed with every step. Blood soaked through the makeshift bandage he'd tied around his thigh. He reached the stream and waded in. Ice cold. Mountain runoff. The shock of it stole his breath, but he kept moving, staying in the water, heading upstream away from the search area. His boots filled with water. His flight suit clung to him, but the cold water would hide his heat signature. 1 mile in, Mason heard the helicopter. The rhythmic thump of rotors echoed off the valley walls. He dropped flat behind a fallen log, pressed himself into the dirt and dead leaves. The sound grew louder directly overhead. Through gaps in the canopy, he caught a glimpse. Military transport with a thermal imaging pod mounted on the nose. They were hunting him with infrared. His body heat would light up their screens like a beacon. The stream. He'd passed a stream 200 yards back. Water masked thermal signatures. Mason waited until the helicopter moved east, then turned and half ran, half limped back the way he'd come. His legs screamed with every step. Blood soaked through the makeshift bandage he'd tied around his thigh. He reached the stream and waded in. Ice cold. Mountain runoff. The shock of it stole his breath, but he kept moving, staying in the water, heading upstream away from the search area. His boots filled with water. His flight suit clung to him, but the cold water would hide his heat signature. The helicopter circled back. Mason crouched low in the stream, water up to his chest, using overhanging branches as cover. The rotors passed directly overhead, hovered, searching. He held his breath, didn't move. The cold water numbed his legs, but he couldn't feel it anymore. Everything was adrenaline and focus. The helicopter moved on, sweeping north in a grid pattern. Mason climbed out of the stream on the far bank, shivering violently. His teeth chattered. Late afternoon sun filtered through the trees, but it wasn't enough to warm him. Hypothermia was a real threat now. Wet clothes, dropping temperature, shock setting in from his injuries. He found a dense thicket and crawled inside, stripped off his soaked flight suit top, wrung it out as best he could with one hand. His shoulder was swelling badly now, turning purple. The dislocated joint sat at an unnatural angle. He'd relocated shoulders before, in training, on other soldiers, never on himself. Mason braced his back against a tree trunk, gripped his left wrist with his right hand, and pulled. The pain was instant and overwhelming, white-hot, blinding. He bit down on his sleeve to keep from screaming, pulled harder, felt the joint resist, then suddenly popped back into place with a wet grinding sound. He nearly passed out. Vision grayed at the edges. Sweat poured down his face despite the cold. But his arm worked now. Limited mobility, serious pain, but functional. He wrapped his ribs with medical tape from his first aid kit, pulling it tight. Each breath hurt less with compression. Then he cleaned and rebandaged his leg wound. The cut was deep but clean. No major damage. He swallowed 2 ibuprofen from his kit, drank half a water bottle. 4 hours since the crash. 8 miles covered. 52 to go. Mason checked his compass, picked a landmark, a ridge visible through the trees, and started moving again. Behind him, he heard the search party spreading out. Darkness came fast in the mountains. Mason had made another 6 miles by the time the sun dropped behind the western peaks. 14 miles total, not nearly fast enough. At this pace, he'd need 4 days to reach the border. He didn't have 4 days. The attacks were scheduled for 72 hours from the mission brief. Half a day already gone. He needed to move through the night. Risk be damned. The temperature dropped to near freezing. Mason's breath came out in white clouds. His damp flight suit offered almost no insulation. He kept moving to generate heat, following his compass by moonlight. 2 hours after dark, he nearly walked into them. Voices, close, maybe 50 yards ahead. Mason dropped behind a boulder, peered around the edge. A patrol. 4 men with rifles and night vision goggles, moving in a standard search pattern. Professional, military trained. They swept the area methodically, checking behind trees, scanning with flashlights. One of them had a radio. Mason caught fragments of conversation in a language he didn't speak, but the tone was clear. Coordinated search. Reporting in. Following a grid. He waited perfectly still as they passed within 30 feet of his position. One of the soldiers stopped, looking directly at Mason's hiding spot. Mason held his breath. The soldier raised his rifle, took 2 steps closer. Then his radio squawked. The man answered, listened, then moved on with his unit. Mason waited 10 full minutes after they disappeared before moving again. His heart hammered. That was too close. He altered course, heading more westerly to avoid the patrol routes. It added distance, but staying alive mattered more than speed. The terrain grew rougher. Rocky slopes, steep descents, dense undergrowth that grabbed at his legs. Around midnight, he spotted lights in the valley below. A compound, bigger than he expected. Vehicles parked in rows. Guard towers with spotlights. A significant installation. Mason pulled out his compass, studied the terrain. The compound sat directly in his path north. Going around would add at least 5 miles, maybe more. But crossing near it was suicide. He chose a road along the eastern ridge, keeping high ground, staying in the tree line. It took 3 hours to circle the compound. Every step careful, every sound analyzed. He moved like a ghost, the way they'd taught him in survival school. By 3 in the morning, he'd put the compound behind him. 20 miles from the crash site, 40 to go. His body was failing. The adrenaline from the crash had worn off hours ago. Now it was just pain. Constant, grinding pain. His shoulder throbbed despite the relocation. His ribs felt like broken glass with every breath. The leg wound had started bleeding again, leaving a faint trail of drops on the rocks. Mason found an abandoned shepherd's hut as dawn approached. Stone walls, collapsed roof, but shelter. He crawled inside, let himself rest for the first time in 20 hours. He allowed himself 10 minutes, set a mental timer, closed his eyes, woke to the sound of a helicopter directly overhead. Mason pressed himself against the stone wall, made himself small in the corner shadows. The helicopter hovered low, rotors kicking up dust through the collapsed roof. A spotlight swept through the gaps in the stone, cutting white beams through the darkness. He'd slept for 3 hours, not 10 minutes. 3 hours. The spotlight passed over him once, twice. He didn't move, didn't breathe. The stones around him were ancient, thick. They might mask his heat signature enough. Might. The helicopter moved on, continuing its search pattern south. Mason waited until the sound faded completely, then crawled out of the hut. Dawn light painted the mountains pink and gold. He could see for miles from this elevation, and that meant anyone with binoculars could see him. He checked his supplies. 2 water bottles left, 4 energy bars. His leg had bled through the bandage again. He needed to change it, but didn't have time. In the distance, maybe 2 miles back, he could see movement. Ground units, at least a dozen. They were following his trail. The blood. He was leaving a blood trail. Mason tore a strip from his undershirt, wrapped it tight around his leg over the bandage. Applied pressure until the bleeding slowed to a seep. Not perfect, but better. He scattered dirt over the blood drops near the hut, did his best to obscure the trail. Then he moved, pushing north into rougher terrain. The mountains grew steeper here. Less forest, more exposed rock. Harder to track him, but also harder to hide. He chose speed over stealth, putting distance between himself and the pursuit. By mid-morning, he'd reached a ridge that overlooked a valley. A main road cut through it, running east-west. He counted vehicles, military trucks, civilian cars, more trucks, constant traffic. He needed to cross that road to continue north. Mason glassed the area with his eyes, looking for a crossing point. Guard posts every half mile, patrols visible on both sides. They'd locked down the road completely. Looking for him, he studied the pattern. Vehicles passed every 15 to 20 minutes. Guards rotated every hour. There was a gap in coverage where the tree line came closest to the road. Maybe 8 minutes between patrols if he timed it right. He'd have to wait until nightfall. Crossing in daylight was impossible. Mason found cover in a small cave, actually more of an overhang in the rock face. He could see the road from here, but was invisible from below. He used the time to treat his wounds properly, changed the leg bandage. The infection was starting, red streaks radiating from the cut. Not good. He had antibiotics in his first aid kit. 3 pills. He took 1. He ate half an energy bar, drank water sparingly, watched the road, counted patrol patterns, memorized timing. The sun crawled across the sky with agonizing slowness. Behind him in the distance, he heard dogs barking. They'd brought in tracking dogs. His blood trail would lead them straight here. Mason checked his watch. 6 hours until dark. The dogs would reach his position in maybe 4. He'd have to cross in daylight after all. Mason's radio crackled. He'd forgotten he still had it clipped to his vest. The battery was dying, but someone was transmitting on the emergency frequency. Any Allied forces, this is Watchdog 3. We have eyes on your crash site. Multiple hostiles converging. If you can hear this, respond. Mason grabbed the radio. His finger hovered over the transmit button, then stopped. If he transmitted, every enemy radio in the area would pick it up. They'd triangulate his position in seconds. But if he didn't respond, rescue wouldn't know he was alive. He made his choice. Switched the radio off. Removed the battery. Rescue would have to wait. First, he had to survive long enough to be rescued. The dogs were getting closer. He could hear them clearly now, their barking echoing off the rocks. This story takes time to craft. If you're enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Mason descended from the ridge 2 hours before sunset. The dogs would reach his cave within the hour. He couldn't wait any longer. The road stretched below him like a scar across the valley floor. 200 yards of open ground between the tree line and the pavement, then another 100 yards to cover on the far side. He watched the patrol pattern for the 100th time. Guards stationed at the checkpoint half a mile east. A vehicle passed heading west. Military truck. He counted. 18 minutes until the next one. 18 minutes to cross 300 yards while injured and exhausted. Mason waited for the truck to disappear around the bend, then started down the slope. He moved as fast as his leg allowed, using trees for cover until the forest ended. Then there was nothing but scrub brush and rocky ground. He broke into a limping run. Each impact sent lightning through his ribs. His legs screamed. 50 yards, 100 yards. Halfway there, headlights appeared from the east. Off schedule, a civilian car moving fast. Mason threw himself flat in a drainage ditch that ran parallel to the road. Landed hard on his injured shoulder, bit back a yell. The car passed 10 feet away. He lay in the muddy water, face down, not breathing. The car didn't stop. Taillights disappeared west. He pulled himself out of the ditch, mud-covered and soaking wet again. Stumbled the last 50 yards to the road edge. Looked both ways. Clear. Crossed the pavement at a run. Made it to the far side. Dove into the tree line just as another vehicle appeared from the west. This one was military. It slowed as it approached the spot where he'd crossed. Mason pressed himself behind a thick pine trunk, watched through the branches. The vehicle stopped. A soldier got out, walked to the edge of the road, studying something on the ground. Blood. Mason had left blood on the pavement. The soldier called to his partner. They both got out now, rifles ready, examining the blood trail that led straight into the trees. One of them pulled out a radio. Mason was already moving, pushing deeper into the forest, ignoring the pain. He had maybe 2 minutes before that radio call brought every unit in the area down on him. The forest here was different than the southern side. Denser, older growth. He used it, weaving between massive trunks, changing direction every 100 yards to break his trail. But the blood kept coming. Each step left evidence. He found a stream, his third time using water to mask his trail. Waded upstream for half a mile, his boots squelching, legs numb from the cold. Climbed out on a rocky section where he'd leave no tracks. Behind him, he heard vehicles arriving at the road, voices shouting, an organized search beginning. Mason climbed higher, heading for a ridgeline visible through the trees. The sun was setting now, shadows growing long. In 30 minutes, it would be dark. If he could stay ahead of them until then, he had a chance. His radio crackled one last time before the battery died completely. A voice in accented English. "American pilot, we know you crossed the road. There is nowhere to run. Surrender the device and we will let you live." Mason switched it off, kept climbing. Full dark came as Mason crested the ridge. He'd pushed for 3 hours straight, putting as much distance as possible between himself and the road. His body was shutting down, fever building from the infected leg wound, vision blurring at the edges. He needed rest. Real rest. But behind him, searchlights swept the valley. They weren't giving up. The ridge descended into another valley, this one narrower, with scattered buildings visible in the moonlight. A village. Small, maybe 20 structures. Smoke rose from a few chimneys. Mason knew the risk. The shepherd who'd helped someone in his squadron 2 years ago had been executed for it. These villages survived by staying neutral or by cooperating with whoever had the guns. He'd be a death sentence for anyone who helped him, but his leg was bad, really bad. Red streaks had climbed past his knee, reaching toward his hip. Sepsis. Without proper antibiotics, he had maybe 48 hours before it killed him. The 3 pills in his first aid kit weren't enough. He watched the village for an hour from the tree line, saw an old man tending sheep, saw women carrying water, saw children playing in the dirt. Normal life in an abnormal place. Then he saw the military vehicle parked in the village center. They were already here, asking questions, showing photos, his photos. Mason started to back away, retreat into the forest. Then he saw her, an old woman separate from the others, carrying firewood to a house on the village outskirts. The house was dark, isolated. She moved slowly, her back bent with age. He made a decision that was probably stupid, definitely desperate. He waited until she was alone, then approached from behind. She heard him, turned, opened her mouth to scream. He raised his hands, palms out, showing he was unarmed. "Please," he said quietly. "Please. I need help." She stared at him. He realized what he looked like, covered in mud and blood, flight suit torn, face bruised and swollen. A monster from the forest. She should have screamed, should have run. Instead, she studied his face for a long moment, then looked toward the village center where the military vehicle sat. "You are the pilot," she said in clear English. Not a question, a statement. Mason nodded. She looked at his leg, saw the blood, the infected wound. Looked at his face again, some calculation happening behind her eyes. "They are offering money, much money, for you." "I know. My grandson needs medicine. The clinic in the city is expensive." Mason understood. "How much are they offering?" "Enough to save his life." She paused. "Why should I choose yours over his?" It was a fair question. Mason didn't have a good answer, just the truth. 3 American cities, thousands of people. I'm trying to stop it. She was quiet for a long time. The night wind moved through the trees. In the village, someone laughed. Normal sounds of normal life. Finally, she spoke. "Come, quickly, before they see." She led him to her house through the back entrance. A single room with a dirt floor, a fire pit, blankets piled in the corner. Poor, desperately poor. Mason understood why the money mattered. "Sit," she commanded. He collapsed onto a wooden stool. His leg had gone numb below the knee. Not a good sign. She lit an oil lamp, examined the wound in the flickering light. Her face showed nothing, but her hands were gentle as she unwrapped his crude bandage. "This is very bad. Infection deep. You waited too long." "I know." She left the room, returned with a clay pot and clean cloth. Inside the pot was a paste that smelled like herbs and something antiseptic. She cleaned the wound with water she boiled over the fire, then packed it with the paste. Mason gritted his teeth but didn't make a sound. "You were a nurse," he said. 40 years ago, before the wars." She wrapped his leg with clean cloth, tied it tight. "I studied in America. Boston. Long time ago now." That explained the English. She brought him bread and water. He ate slowly, his stomach rebelling after 2 days of nothing but energy bars. "They will come back," she said. "Tomorrow morning. They search every house. You cannot be here." "I'll leave before dawn." She shook her head. "You are weak. Fever. You would not make it 1 mile." She thought for a moment. "There is a root cellar under the floor. You hide there when they come. I tell them nothing." "If they find me, they'll kill you." "Yes," she said it simply, matter of fact. "But I think they will not find you. They are lazy, they look quickly and leave." Mason started to argue, but she cut him off. "You think I risk my life for nothing? For sentiment?" She leaned forward. "My daughter lived in New York, September 11th, 2001. She worked in the tower." "The second one." Mason understood. "I'm sorry. Everyone is sorry. Sorry does not bring her back, but maybe stopping the next one matters. Maybe her death means something if I help you." She stood, moved to the corner. "Rest now. 3 hours. I wake you before dawn and you go." Mason lay down on the blankets she offered. His body surrendered immediately to exhaustion. But before he slept, he had one question. "Why did you really help me? Was it just about your daughter?" She looked at him with eyes that had seen too much suffering. "I helped you because I am tired of young men dying for old men's wars. Both sides. All sides. I am tired of it." She paused. "And because you told me the truth. You did not promise me money you do not have. You did not lie about what you carry. You respected me enough to be honest." Mason wanted to thank her, but she waved him silent. "Sleep, pilot. Tomorrow you have 40 miles still to go. And they will be hunting harder now. They know you are close." She was right. He closed his eyes and let the darkness take him. Mason woke 3 hours later to her hand on his shoulder. The fever had broken slightly. His legs still throbbed, but the herbal paste had drawn out some of the infection. She handed him a small cloth bundle. "Antibiotics, real ones, from the city clinic. I had them for my grandson, but he can wait another week. You need them now." Mason looked at the pills. "Maybe 20 of them. Enough for a full course of treatment." "I can't take these. Your grandson..." "My grandson has a cough. You have sepsis. Take them." Her voice left no room for argument. She also gave him food. Real food. Dried meat, flatbread, cheese. She'd packed it all in a worn canvas bag along with 2 bottles of water. "The border is 28 miles north from here. There is a gorge. A rope bridge crosses it. Very old, very dangerous. But no guards because no one uses it anymore. If you can cross the bridge, you are in neutral territory. From there, another 12 miles to your base." She drew him a map on a piece of paper. Simple but clear. Landmarks he could follow even without a compass. Mason tried to thank her, but she waved him off. "Go now, before light comes. And pilot, when you stop those attacks, remember an old woman in a village who chose mercy over money." Mason left the village before dawn with the old woman's map folded in his pocket and her antibiotics in his bloodstream. The fever had dropped, but exhaustion sat on him like a physical weight. 48 hours since the crash. 30 miles covered. 30 more to go, but his body was breaking down mile by mile. The antibiotics would help. The food would help. But time was the enemy now. The attacks were scheduled for tomorrow night. Even if he made the border today, even if he somehow got the drive and delivered it to command, they'd have less than 24 hours to stop 3 coordinated strikes. He moved through pre-dawn darkness using the woman's landmarks. A lightning-struck tree, a rock formation that looked like a broken tooth, a stream that ran north toward the mountains. Simple directions that kept him on course without needing his compass. By sunrise, he'd covered 5 miles. The terrain changed again. Less forest, more open ground with scattered boulders. Harder to hide but faster to traverse. He could see the mountains clearly now, their peaks white with early snow. The gorge was somewhere in those mountains. The rope bridge, his path to safety. Mason stopped to rest in a cluster of rocks, drank water, ate some of the bread and cheese. The food sat heavy in his stomach, but his body needed the calories. He checked his leg. The swelling had gone down. The red streaks were fading. The old woman's medicine was working. He was about to move again when he heard it. A voice, speaking English. He came through here. Last night. Blood trail leads north. Mason froze, peered through a gap in the rocks. 2 men 50 yards away. Americans. Special forces by their gear. But something was wrong. They were coordinating with enemy units. He could see the hostile forces spread out behind them, following their lead. Traitors. The intelligence leak wasn't just about his flight path. There were Americans working with the enemy. One of them was studying the ground, following his trail. The other spoke into a radio in that foreign language Mason didn't understand. Fluent, native-level fluent. The old woman in the village gave him supplies, the first one said. Medical treatment, too. We should go back and question her. No time. He's 12 hours ahead of us already. We catch him before he reaches the gorge or we lose him completely. They knew about the gorge. They knew about the bridge. Mason's mind raced. If they knew his route, they could get ahead of him. Set up an ambush at the crossing point. He'd walk right into it. He needed a new plan, fast. The 2 men moved closer, still following his trail. Mason had maybe 30 seconds before they spotted his hiding place. He looked around, calculating options. A ravine 20 yards to his left. Steep, rocky, dangerous. But the trail didn't lead there. They'd assume he kept going north. Mason made his decision. As quietly as possible, he backed out of the rocks on the far side, away from the approaching men. Reached the ravine edge. Looked down at the 30-foot drop to a narrow stream below. Heard the men getting closer. He jumped. The fall seemed to last forever. Mason hit the water hard, went under, the current immediately grabbing him. His injured shoulder screamed as he fought to the surface. The stream was deeper than it looked, moving fast with mountain runoff. He let it carry him, keeping his head barely above water, using rocks for cover. Above, he heard the men reach his hiding spot, voices calling out in confusion. They'd lost his trail. The current swept him downstream for half a mile before he could grab an overhanging root and pull himself to the bank. He crawled onto muddy ground, coughing up water, his entire body shaking from cold and shock. But he was alive, and he'd bought himself time. Mason stripped off his flight suit top again, wrung it out. The canvas bag with his supplies had stayed secured to his belt. The old woman had tied it well. The food was soaked but edible. The map was pulp, gone. He tried to remember her directions. The gorge was northwest, maybe 15 miles from the village. He'd come 8, maybe 9 miles. That left 6 or 7 to go. Without a map, with traders who knew his destination. The ravine continued north, roughly parallel to his intended route. Steep walls on both sides. Good cover, but only one way out. Forward. If they figured out where he'd gone, he'd be trapped. Mason decided to risk it. Better than being caught in the open. He followed the ravine for 3 hours, wading through the stream, climbing over fallen trees, squeezing through narrow passages between rock walls. Slow progress, exhausting progress, but hidden. The ravine opened suddenly into a wider valley. Mason stopped at the edge, studied the terrain. He could see the mountains clearly now, and there, maybe 5 miles away, a deep cut in the ridgeline, the gorge. Between him and the gorge was open ground, rolling hills with scattered trees. Nowhere to hide, and worse, he could see vehicles on a dirt road that crossed his path. They'd set up a checkpoint, waiting. They'd gotten ahead of him after all. Mason counted the vehicles. 3, maybe a dozen men visible. Could be more hidden. The checkpoint blocked the only approach to the gorge. Going around would add 10 miles through open country. He didn't have 10 miles left in him. He watched for an hour, studying their pattern. The soldiers were relaxed, confident. They knew he had to come this way. They'd wait as long as it took. Then Mason noticed something. Every 30 minutes, a supply truck came from the south, delivered food and water to the checkpoint, then continued north toward the gorge. The soldiers barely looked at it. Familiar vehicle. Expected. The truck would come back south in 90 minutes. Empty. An idea formed. Dangerous, maybe stupid. But it might work. Mason circled wide through the ravine, moving parallel to the road, staying hidden. He needed to intercept that truck before it reached the checkpoint on its return trip, before the soldiers saw it, before the driver expected trouble. He found his spot. A tight curve in the road, trees on both sides. The truck would have to slow down here. Mason pulled out his knife, the only weapon he had, waited in the shadows, heard the truck approaching. The truck slowed for the curve just as Mason predicted. He stepped out from the trees directly into the road. The driver's eyes went wide, slammed on the brakes. Mason moved before the truck fully stopped, yanked open the driver's door. The man reached for something, a weapon, a radio. Mason grabbed his arm, pulled him out of the cab. They hit the ground together. The driver was bigger, stronger, not injured. He threw Mason off, scrambled to his feet, pulling a pistol from his belt. Mason kicked his legs out from under him. The pistol skittered across the dirt road. They fought in silence. No shouting. Both knew noise would bring the checkpoint soldiers. The driver got his hands around Mason's throat. Squeezed. Mason's vision started to gray. He still had the knife. Brought it up. Didn't want to. Had to. The driver went still. Mason rolled him off, gasping for air. His hands were shaking. He'd killed before in combat, but never like this. Never this close. Never looking someone in the eyes. No time to process it. He dragged the body into the trees, covered it with branches, took the driver's jacket, his cap, put them on. The jacket was too big, but it would work from a distance. Mason climbed into the truck, started it moving. His heart hammered. His hands left blood on the steering wheel. The checkpoint was half a mile ahead. He could see the soldiers waiting. 3 vehicles, maybe 15 men total. He forced himself to breathe normally. Look normal, just a driver coming back from a delivery. The checkpoint came into view. A soldier stepped into the road, hand raised. Stop sign. Mason slowed, rolled down the window, kept his face angled away, the cap pulled low. The soldier approached, looked into the cab, said something in that foreign language Mason didn't understand. Mason nodded, gestured vaguely at the empty truck bed, hoped it looked like a response. The soldier stared at him. Long moment. Too long. Mason's hand found the pistol he'd taken from the driver, hidden below the window line. If this went wrong, he'd take as many as he could before they got him. The soldier said something else, laughed, waved him through. Mason drove past the checkpoint, maintaining steady speed. Not too fast, not too slow. Watched in the mirror as the soldier turned back to his post. No alarm, no pursuit. Half a mile past the checkpoint, Mason pulled off the road into a dense cluster of trees, parked the truck, sat there for a full minute, letting the adrenaline drain away. He'd made it through. But now he had a new problem. The gorge was 3 miles ahead, the rope bridge. But those traitors knew he was coming. They might have men waiting there too. Mason left the truck, continued on foot through the trees parallel to the road. The mountains rose steep ahead of him. He could see the gorge now, a massive split in the rock, hundreds of feet deep. And there, spanning it like a thread, the rope bridge the old woman had described. No guards visible, but that didn't mean they weren't there. He'd find out soon enough. Mason approached the gorge from the east, using every bit of cover available. The bridge was worse than he'd imagined. Ancient rope and wooden planks, many rotted through or missing entirely. It swayed in the wind like something alive. The drop below was 300 feet straight down to rocks and white water. He glassed the far side with his eyes, saw movement. 2 men, the American traitors. They'd beaten him here after all. They were setting up position in the rocks, rifles ready, watching the bridge, waiting for him to step onto it. He'd be completely exposed. An easy shot. Mason approached the gorge from the east using every bit of cover available. The bridge was worse than he'd imagined. Ancient rope and wooden planks, many rotted through or missing entirely. It swayed in the wind like something alive. The drop below was 300 feet straight down to rocks and white water. He glassed the far side with his eyes, saw movement. 2 men, The American traitors. They'd beaten him here after all. They were setting up position in the rocks, rifles ready, watching the bridge, waiting for him to step onto it. He'd be completely exposed. An easy shot. Mason studied the situation. The bridge was the only crossing for 20 miles in either direction. Going around wasn't an option. He'd never make it in time. The attacks were tomorrow night. He had maybe 30 hours left. He needed to cross that bridge, with 2 trained shooters waiting to kill him. Think. There had to be a way. Mason watched their pattern. They were positioned on high ground, about 50 yards from the bridge exit. Perfect overlapping fields of fire. Professional setup, but they were focused on the bridge, expecting him to cross like a normal person. What if he didn't cross like a normal person? Mason moved along the gorge edge, staying low, until he found what he was looking for. 50 yards upstream from the bridge, a section where the gorge narrowed slightly. Still 100 feet across, but the walls were less vertical. More of a steep slope with handholds. Could he climb down one side and up the other? With his injuries, with his limited strength? Probably not, but he didn't need to climb the whole way, just far enough to get below the sight line from the bridge, then traverse along the gorge wall, come up on their position from behind. It was insane. One slip and he'd fall 300 feet. But crossing the bridge was certain death. Mason started down. The rock face was loose, crumbling under his hands. His shoulder protested every movement. The injured leg couldn't take full weight. He moved slowly, testing each handhold, each foothold. 50 feet down, 100 feet across empty air below him. A rock broke free under his foot. He slipped, caught himself with his good arm, hung there, breathing hard, legs dangling. Found purchase, kept going. 70 feet down, far enough. He started traversing along the wall, moving parallel to the gorge floor below. Slow, agonizing. His fingers bled from gripping sharp rock. His arms shook from exhaustion. He made it past the bridge, below the sight line of the men above, started climbing up the far side. Each vertical foot took minutes. His body screamed that it couldn't do this. He ignored it, climbed. Near the top, he heard voices. The traitors, 50 yards away, discussing something. Mason pulled himself over the edge, lay flat behind a boulder. His muscles trembled. His vision swam. But he'd done it. He was on their side of the gorge, behind them, between them and their escape route. Mason pulled out the pistol he'd taken from the truck driver, checked the magazine. 8 rounds, against 2 trained special forces operators with rifles. Not great odds, but better than being shot on a bridge. He moved through the rocks, silent, closing the distance. Mason got within 30 yards before one of them turned. Saw him. Eyes went wide with shock. How did he get behind them? The man shouted a warning, swung his rifle around. Mason fired first. 2 shots, center mass. The man went down. The second traitor dove for cover, brought his rifle up, fired. The round snapped past Mason's head, close enough to feel the displacement. Mason dropped behind a boulder, returned fire. 3 rounds, heard them ricochet off rock. Then silence. Both of them behind cover. Stalemate. "Clarke!" The remaining traitor shouted, American accent, Southern. "You can't win this. I've got a rifle. You've got a pistol. Do the math." Mason said nothing. Moved position, staying low. The man was right about the math. A rifle at this range was vastly superior, but Mason had one advantage. The man needed him alive, or at least needed to know where the drive was. "Where is it?" the traitor called out. "The encrypted drive. We know you don't have it on you. We've been tracking you since the crash. You buried it somewhere." Mason understood then. They'd been following him the whole time, not trying to catch him, trying to find out where he'd hidden the drive. That's why they'd let him get this far. "Tell us where it is and we'll let you go. You have my word." His word. Mason almost laughed. He shifted position again, closer to the bridge. If he could make it across while the traitor was pinned down. Gunfire erupted, not at Mason, at the bridge. The traitor was shooting the support ropes. One parted with a twang like a broken guitar string. The bridge sagged violently to one side. "Nobody crosses until I get what I came for," the man shouted. Mason was trapped. The bridge was his only way forward. But if he tried to cross now, the traitor would finish cutting the ropes and drop him 300 feet to his death. He needed to end this. Fast. Mason pulled out everything from his pockets. The old woman's antibiotics, energy bars, his broken radio, arranged them on the ground. Then he took off his vest, the one that was supposed to hold the encrypted drive, stood up, hands visible, vest held out. "It's here," he called, "in a hidden pocket. You were wrong. I kept it on me the whole time." The lie had to be convincing, had to make the traitor believe. The man emerged from cover, rifle aimed at Mason's chest. Cautious, professional. "Toss the vest, slowly." Mason threw it. The vest landed 10 feet from the traitor. The man approached it, rifle never leaving Mason. Bent down, began checking the pockets with one hand. That's when Mason moved, sprinted directly at him. The traitor brought the rifle up, but Mason was already too close, inside the barrel's arc. They collided, both went down. The rifle clattered away, hand to hand now. The traitor was fresh, uninjured, trained. Mason was running on fumes. But Mason had one thing the traitor didn't. 3 days of suffering that had burned away everything except pure survival instinct. They fought in the dirt, brutal, desperate. Mason's injured shoulder gave out. The traitor got on top of him, hands around his throat. Mason's vision started to tunnel. His hand found a rock, heavy, jagged. He swung it. Once, twice, 3 times. The traitor went limp. Mason pushed the body off, lay there gasping. His whole body shook. He'd killed 2 men today. 3 days ago, he'd been a pilot flying a routine courier mission. Now he was covered in blood and dirt, barely human. But he was alive, and the bridge was still standing. Mason forced himself up. Checked the bridge. 1 support rope cut, the structure listing badly but intact. Crossable. Maybe. He looked at the gorge. 300 feet straight down. The bridge swayed in the wind, planks creaking. No time to hesitate. Behind him, he could hear vehicles. The checkpoint soldiers had heard the gunfire. They were coming. Mason stepped onto the first plank. It groaned under his weight but held. He took another step. The bridge swung sideways, threatening to dump him off. He grabbed the rope railings with both hands, steadied himself. Another step. A plank cracked. His foot went through. He caught himself, pulled his leg out, moved to the next one. Behind him, voices. The soldiers had arrived, saw him on the bridge, started shooting. Mason ran. No choice now. Bullets whined past him, thudded into planks. The bridge bucked and swayed with each step. Planks broke under him. He leaped gaps, grabbed ropes, kept moving forward. Halfway across, the shooting stopped. He risked a glance back. The soldiers weren't firing anymore. They were smiling. One of them raised something to his shoulder. RPG. Mason understood. They were going to bring down the bridge with him on it. He ran faster. His injured leg buckled. He fell, caught himself on the rope railing. The bridge tilted violently. He was hanging on by his hands, legs dangling over empty air. 300 feet of nothing below him. The soldier fired. Mason saw the smoke trail, watched the rocket coming straight at the bridge. It hit the anchor point. Massive explosion. The entire southern end of the bridge tore free from the cliff face. Mason hung on as the bridge swung down like a pendulum. Slammed into the northern cliff wall. The impact nearly broke his grip. Planks and rope rained down into the gorge. The bridge was now just a rope ladder hanging against the cliff, still attached at the top. Mason looked up. 30 feet of climbing, with a dislocated shoulder that was screaming, with hands bleeding and raw, with no strength left. But he climbed, hand over hand, foot over foot, inch by inch. The rope was fraying. He could see strands parting. The whole thing would go any second. 20 feet, 15, 10. The rope groaned, started to give way. Mason lunged for the cliff edge, got his hands on solid rock, pulled himself up and over just as the bridge collapsed completely. It fell away into the gorge, tumbling end over end, finally crashing into the rocks below. He lay on the ground on the far side. Safe, finally safe. The border was here, neutral territory. The soldiers couldn't follow. Mason laughed. Couldn't help it. A broken, exhausted laugh. He'd made it. 60 miles, 3 days. He'd actually made it. Then he remembered. The drive. Still buried 60 miles south. The mission wasn't over. If this story meant something to you, drop a comment and share it. It helps the next person find their way here.